Today, we just want to talk about, we're really just going to go over the quarterly marketing plan that is sent out to us every quarter and kind of just dive into that and see what things you can be doing. I know I've talked to quite a few agents and have been trying to gather information and what's working, what's not working as well. So just remember, you guys, success doesn't just happen. It's planned. And there is things that we need to be doing right now. So we'll get into that. Before we do that, and that's going to be Lori Palomino. She will be here breaking this down for us. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Lori?
Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about prospecting, which is it can be a lot of different things. It's one word, but there's a lot of different ways you can go at it, depending upon what your budget is, what your time is. So tonight we're just going to talk about the things that you could be doing, how you want to prospect, because that is the single way you're going to generate business for yourselves. So it's something that you want to do on a consistent basis, not just when you're kind of scrambling or you're really busy. It's something that has to be done consistently so you can kind of prepare for those slower times. So I think probably the best one to start with that we're going to talk about is just making phone calls. Phone calls fit every budget. You just pick up the phone and you want to start talking to your sphere. Those are the people that you know, that you've done business with. Probably start with the people that you've recently helped sell a home or purchase a home. It's a great conversation starter. And yeah, it's just a good place to start. And then you can kind of work through your list and kind of establish a stronger pattern of communication with those people. So the 7 Ds, these are different reasons that different things that happen in life that keep real estate going, even when the market is changing. People have babies, they need a bigger space. Unfortunately, they have a death in the family, maybe they're downsizing. They're getting married, so they're going to be buying their first home. Divorce unfortunately happens. Kids graduate, people are empty nesters. So you can kind of see that there's just lots of reasons why people still may need to buy and sell their homes, even in a market like this where people are staying put a little bit more. So Candice can probably talk a little bit more on that. I know that she went to a seminar that dove pretty deeply into this.
And yeah, and it's the discovery of the Ds. And I've talked about this a couple of times, but more so even in just having conversations with other agents that are still seeing successes, it really is the Ds. And so the biggest thing is how do we discover them? It's not going to be that quick, text message that says, it's a great time to buy. It's not that. We've got to kind of dive a little bit deeper. So more one-on-one, belly-to-belly type conversations where you're meeting with somebody to discover them. I have talked and asked agents, what's happening? Well, it's downsizing. There's a lot of people that want to downsize. That's another D. That possibly fits in some of these Ds here, but downsizing, that's a big one. And we're seeing at open houses, the opportunity for twofers where they like this house, they're maybe trying to downsize, but they've also got to sell their own. And for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's because the noise is really loud, that it's not the best time to buy, but for some people it really is. It's a great time. It's a great opportunity to get in a great price point, get your house on the market, sell it so you can make that move. And so in order to find those, the people that are doing that, they're at open houses, they're wandering around by themselves because I guess maybe their agents aren't reaching out to them to, just have those basic conversations. And I think it's easy to just kind of get in the flow of what works really well and what has been going well for a while. But I think we all have seen probably most of us have seen a slight change in the way business is coming to us. So think about that. How can I get on the other side of the Ds, divorce, people, your friends and family, sometimes they don't want to come and reach out to you when they're going through a divorce. But knowing that those are cues and something probably has to happen, maybe not right away, but maybe the next few months per se. So really just dive deep and get into the conversations. Find ways that you can meet up with your sphere of influence and discuss these type of scenarios.
Well, I think it
Yeah,
also just gives you an opportunity to just open up that conversation with people that you do know, because they know people that you don't. So it's an opportunity for a referral. You know, maybe they are not in this particular situation now, but they have somebody they know who is. And it's a great time for them to say, oh, hey, you know what? I have this great broker. Her name is Candice. Let me put you in touch with her. So whether or not any of these things, you know, specifically apply to your sphere, if you start there, it just kind of opens the doors for you to engage with other people as well.
yeah, and I think too, so Candace and I were talking about this too. It's the messaging is different than what it's been for the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years even. When we've got people that, you know, we're talking to historically for the last several years, we've been saying, this is a great time to buy. This is a great time to sell. And we have to kind of get out of that habit. That's not what we should be saying. And frankly, that's not what we should be saying the entire last several years. It's more about, you know, how can we get you from point A to point B? You know, it sounds like you're wanting to move closer to family. You're wanting to downsize. You know, someone is getting to the end of life care. You know, how can we get them where they need to be so they have better quality care? I mean, those types of conversations, rather than just saying it's a great time to buy. It's a little bit more meaningful, and it will convey a lot better in this type of marketplace.
Yeah. And I think one thing that people have a lot of people are afraid to pick up the phone. You know, call reluctance is pretty huge, and it's valid. It's kind of like, what am I going to say? How am I going to open this conversation? I don't know if any of you, Candace had a lead call workshop just on the 18th. Those are things that we periodically do. So if you see those and watch for them, if you are that person that is afraid to pick up the phone, that's something that you should really, you know, you should go to. I think that it would, you know, bring some confidence to making phone calls, whether they're to your sphere, which should be the easier ones, or if you are participating in our free lead program through the pond, those are more like cold calls. Those might be a little scarier. So those are ones that maybe you would want a little bit of help with, of how do I start that conversation? And we do have some scripting that you can download off of the member resources site. We have 2 great scripts about, one is talking specifically to securing a listing appointment, and one is more geared towards buyer consultation. So you can read through those, and it just kind of gives you some ideas, a lot of ideas actually, for how you can open these conversations and kind of keep them going and steer them in the direction that you really want them to go, which is to generate business for you.
Yeah, and there's thousands of scripts out there, you guys, but I would say that these are like the pared down best of. You know, for someone like me, I've taken as many listings as I have. I still sometimes will reflect on these before I go to a listing appointment, because it's good to kind of refresh yourself of like, instead of, you know, being in the driver's seat, it's asking questions. You know, people like to talk about their, you know, about their house and why they live where they are, where they're wanting to go. What is it, Candace? Is like the hopes, aspirations. Like there's a term for that, right? Where they want to talk about their situation. And so these are kind of some things that you can kind of go through when you're talking with a seller on the phone or even in person. Like if you're at church or you're going to a PTO activity or something, it's like, you know, what do you like about your house? You know, have you looked into leasing? You know, have you ever sold a home before? You know, asking questions like that can kind of warm them up.
Yeah,
And
you
this
can
is
also
geared
consider, oh, I'm
nicely.
sorry, Candace, go on.
Go ahead. I was going to say, this is geared nicely to where you can go through here and pick out, you know, 3 questions that you want to ask in each area. So 3 questions, and just kind of compile that and just practice it. And it's a flow from the reasons and motivations all the way to the end of setting the expectation, that you can, you know, pick a few questions out of each area, get comfortable with them, and make it work for you.
Yeah,
The same on the buyers.
Yeah,
and
that
same
was kind
thing
of what
kind
I
of
was
goes for buyers, ready,
Yeah.
willing, and able. I mean, these are the types of conversations to be having right now, rather than saying, oh, it's a great time to buy. You know, let's ask more questions rather than making statements like that, where it's like, oh, you know, where do you want to be? What things have happened for you to make the move? Do you have to sell your home in order to buy another? I did an open house this weekend, which I don't always get to go out and play in that space, but I did an open house, and 5 out of the 6 groups that came through did not have an agent, you guys. So how did you warm up those buyers? And the way that you warm them up when they come in for open houses is by asking them questions. And these are great. And, you know, how do you have to sell your home to buy another? That's one I certainly asked this weekend. You know, have you ever purchased a home before? What do you like about your current house? Oh, you know, I like the 1920 era kind of home. Okay, well, that makes sense why you're here if this is an 1890 home. You know, they like that type of vintage. So warm them up.
Yeah, and kind of just playing off that, you know, about building that confidence. It's not a bad idea to, Candice kind of touched on that, to practice these questions, but role playing them out, talking to somebody. I mean, it's a lot easier. You develop comfort when you do something. So reading about it is different than actually saying it out loud. So if you have somebody that you can do that with, if you're not in one of our classes, or, you know, another real estate broker, you know, they're going to probably have some questions that are going to be a little bit harder. So it's kind of would kind of test your knowledge and, you know, and be prepared for those questions that you get from people. So the next one we're going to talk about is real estate farming. Most of us think about farming as doing postcards, which is primarily what that is. It actually is still a viable way to prospect. People still like to get mail. And the key with postcard farming is, number one, is choosing the farm correctly. A lot of places where people should start is just if the area you live within or your community, if you know about your community and you already have some people and recognition in that, that's going to be a great place to start. You also want to talk with your title rep to kind of see what the turnover rate is how many people are buying and selling in that area. So doing some research before you start your farm is probably a really good way to go. Then you really kind of have to think backwards from that. How much effort can I put towards this financially, time-wise, whatever? Because with farming, especially, this is really a type of prospecting that it's built around consistency. It's that you show up in their mailbox, you know, monthly, bi-monthly, but they start to recognize who you are. So it's really something that you have to budget with your marketing dollars. Figure out how much do I want to spend through this year of doing postcard marketing, and you kind of then look to see what kind of what the frequency is that you can keep up with. I always tell people, if you cannot do it more than once, don't do it at all. It's really not going to be worth your time and money. Postcard marketing and farming is something that you have to do at regular intervals in order to get that recognition within that neighborhood. So that's kind of where you want to start with farming, but it's still a good way to go. If you have access to our marketing center, you can do postcard mailings straight from there. You can upload a mailing list. You can get the list from your title rep. So there's a lot of different ways you can go at it. But you can make it pretty easy, you know, just kind of once you get a schedule going, then it's just basically looking at your calendar. It's like, it's time to send another. So you can also follow that up and kind of, if you're doing an area, you know, if you're comfortable, do some door knocking. They've already seen your face. So you have a conversation starter right there. You know, I don't know if you've been getting my postcards, that type of thing. But it's a way to get face to face with these people that you want to work with, and they'll get to know you. So and door knocking, you know, it does work. So again, that kind of comes with how comfortable you are with that type of thing. But doing it is the only way to get more comfortable with that process.
Yeah. And I can speak to farming a little bit, you guys. It's sometimes farming looks different for some people than others. You know, for me, I would say I've kind of got like a somewhat, it's not really like a true farm, like the way that title and escrow talk about it, but my sphere of influence of where they are is regionally kind of located in the same area. So they're all going to the same schools. They're all going to the same grocery stores. They're all going to the same places. And so my perspective on it is, I'm like, you know what? I want to show up in as many of those places as possible so they keep running into me. So they're getting my postcards, or they're getting my flyers, or they're getting my emails, but then they're also seeing me in person. So one of the things I've always strived to do within my farm, sphere, basically in that area of where I live and work and grew up, that, let's send out the stuff, all that stuff I can control and do on the back end, but not neglecting the fact that I need to get in front of these people and in front of their face, and having that meaningful conversation. So one of the things I do is, I'm involved in, whenever they have things going on with like the preschool co-ops or the high school boosters and any of those types of community events. They have like a shredding thing that they do in my hometown. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be there. If I can, I'll sponsor, or I'll do a booth or something like that. So that way I have an opportunity for someone to basically connect the dots of, hey, I got your postcard, or I got your flyer, or your magazine, or your email, or whatever it was that you had sent out to them ahead of time. And then they see your face and they go, hey, I know you. I keep seeing your stuff.
All
You must
over.
be, the queen of this area, or the, the king of Tacoma, or the queen of Spokane, or wherever it is that you are farming and mining for business. So I think don't neglect it. And a lot of people think they can just have a farm, send a postcard, and then they're done. It's the other half that is going to be really the critical piece, where you're going to have a really, really good return on your investment.
Yeah, definitely community involvement is huge. I mean, you're trying to get yourself out there. You want to be the expert in that area. So, participating in those events, or even having one of your own. I mean, you can take it as far as you want to, but the whole idea is that these people get to know you, they recognize you, you get to have conversations with them. And I think that's number one. When you look at doing something like this, you just have to determine what you're willing to put into it before you even start it. I mean, obviously you can build it and grow it, but you do have to be, honest with yourself and your budget of what can I do? And then I'm just going to start and stick with it, because I think that you will find success. Sometimes it's a long game with this type of farming, but it does work.
Yeah. And we've got several agents within Best Choice that do a really good job about being the community or the local expert. I mean, that's kind of the key. And one of the things that they do too is that they also involve other small businesses. So, it doesn't need to be expensive. If you're doing like a postcard, there's no harm in co-branding with a lender, or co-branding with a coffee shop, or doing something of that nature. And local supports local. So, get creative. I think this is kind of where we can have fun in real estate and kind of put our creative hats on, is with the farming stuff.
Yeah. And this time of year, I mean, the pot buys are huge. This is the holiday season. So this is the time when it's great to think about something that you want to just drop by to your sphere. Or if you're doing something that, your farm area, you can do that as well. Easiest thing to do is just basically come up with some sort of little gift to drop off to people. We have some pot buy tags for the Christmas season on our downloads that you can just print off and cut out, and it just at least gives you something to go with whatever gift you're going to go with. That being said, there are lots of these types of tags that you can find online that are generic, that you can download and do something with yourself. If you're really savvy, you can get on Canva and put something together. But obviously, you want to, it's a chance for you to get in front of these people, give them a business card. They'll remember you bring them something nice. And it's a good time of year to do that, along with sending out your Christmas cards and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
I know that Candice, you're sending, what are you doing this year for your sphere?
So I just sent out and finished sending last week, Halloween, scratch tickets to my sphere. It's my VIP. So all the people that I know are always going to refer me, whether they're buying or have purchased or not, as well as all of my forever clients, the ones that I have helped sell houses to, and they're in that home. And so I sent and did a handwritten note that was very simple. It did take me a while because I think there was 60, but I just did the handwritten note. My resources are your resources. If you need anything real estate related for you or friends and family, please let me know. And so those probably have all dropped by the end of this week or this week. And so I'm going to follow up next week and call them and just check in. Did you win? Did you win on the scratch ticket, or did we win? Something to that sort, and just reach out and have a conversation, and check in and see if there's any needs. Also, just to be a resource is a great way to get people and get your phone ringing. We have lenders, we have title, and we have people in construction that we can help with. Roof care maintenance right now is big. A lot of people are calling to get their roofs cleaned before it really gets kind of cold outside. So different things like that. Be a resource as well.
Mm-hmm. And, basically, and everybody is busy, but you have to kind of think about putting in this extra effort is kind of planting the seeds for next year. So this is a busy season, but, you can prepare for 2024, hit the ground running, have made contact with your sphere, and have some marketing plans in action for next year, because the business just keeps going. So it's time to start thinking about what you want to budget and what you want to do for your next year in real estate. One time-saving thing that you can utilize, I'm sure everybody at this point has heard of ChatGPT. It is a great tool for helping you with content, written content, essentially. The best way to take advantage of it, though, and this kind of touches on that, is when you're asking ChatGPT to write something for you, you have to be kind of as detailed as you can be in order to get something back that is going to be what you're looking for. So this is just an example of, you're busy and you need to get, your listing, your marketing remarks done. Write a listing description for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Marta Loop, Calgary. So basically be a little more specific so it has something to generate back for you than just something really generic. And obviously, take the time to read it over and edit it for yourself. It's supposed to be a help. It's not supposed to necessarily be you. So you definitely want to take the time and put something personal in there. But it's a great way to just, if you want to send, a newsletter out, or you want to send a letter to your sphere and you're just struggling with how to get started with that, it's a great tool that you can use. So even if you're not ready to use it right now, just get on and kind of see how it works, because it really is kind of helpful for things like this.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy, you guys. I mean, if you haven't played with it, don't go down the rabbit hole, I would say. But if you're just like me and you're like, for me, I'm obsessing over what to say for my holiday card that I send out this year. Like, it's something that's just like in the back of my mind, and Lori is like laughing inside because she's helping me with this. And I'm like, gosh, what do I say? And so, you know what, one of the things that we can do, and I'm speaking this as I'm going to be doing it this week, so be like me, I suppose, and learn from my mistake. I overthink it, so I'm putting bullet points of, I did X, Y, Z this year. Let's put it in and basically say, hey, ChatGPT, take this, put it into like a letter format, or whatever. Give it a prompt to do something off of the content I'm giving it. And it at least gives me something to start with. Is it the end all be all? No, you still have to kind of take the human element and be like, okay, let's extrapolate what ChatGPT has given me, and let's kind of like make it sound like me rather than some robot. But at least get you started where it's, I like to kind of take it once I have it, and I'll kind of rip it apart and move things around or whatnot. But at least it gave me something to start with. And sometimes starting is the hardest place.
Yeah.
So that it's a tool, right? Use the tool. I have some of our agents that are doing newsletters every single month, or I've got one of them that came in today. She does something every other week. With the current data for the last week, I'm like, wow, that's aggressive, but there's a lot of people not doing that. Yeah. So using the tools at your disposal to get some of that content out. I wanted to scroll up a little bit here, Lori, so we can kind of go over the what you had on here, the plan your marketing. Mm-hmm. I really like this. And I've been talking with a lot of newer agents right now, and I think Candice can echo this too, where some of the agents that are not having the business that they were expecting right now, you'd be surprised that these things right here are not necessarily being done. So when I look at, gosh, why don't I have the same business that I had last year? Well, have we gotten off track? Are we sending and shoring up what we can control for our marketing pieces? Are we doing a monthly newsletter? Are you sending a quarterly mail piece? And then are you making phone calls with people who know you, who love you, who trust you, and want to see you succeed? Because they will be your biggest advocates and source of referrals, which is what Candice is kind of doing with her Halloween cards. Like those are the people that are her main source of referral business. So let's funnel some energy into them so we can get energy back in some respects. But shoring up what you can do, because once that's done, then we can kind of look at your business a little closer and fine tune it from there. Would you have anything to add to that, Candice?
No, I think that's it. I think the plan your marketing, and and the nice thing is you can plan this. There's so many things that you can do to market yourself in your business that don't cost anything. That's another thing that just keeps coming up. Well, I don't know about the cost for this, the cost for that, but if you've got a farm in an area and you've maybe missed a month or you're sending it every other month, what about that month that you're not sending it, finding an open house that you can go and sit the open house? I mean, we're just seeing so many great opportunities out there where it's like, people are showing up. They want to hear from us. They don't have a ton of information, but they're getting fed a whole lot of something. And then I also, a lot of times I'm thinking about, there's also a lot of agents getting out of the business. So who knows if, these buyers are actually being supported, at all or not. You don't even know until you get out there and see. And there's still a lot of opportunities. I think that inventory has gotten a little bit, it's getting tight, right? And so some of the things that I have been seeing where there's opportunities to make some deals happen, I think it's going to be, if we don't get in front of it sooner, it's going to be competition later. And I'm talking about like assumptions and seller financing, which hasn't been very popular. I'm seeing a lot of seller financing. I know we're seeing some come through the office. We're seeing assumptions that were like 90 days, it's 30-day closing. So, get out, find out what's going on, get familiar, and try to get on the other side of what's not happening, because there's deals that are still happening today.
Well, and I think to your point too, Candice, the deals that are coming through, they're requiring a little bit more thought.
Yes.
On some of them. And one of my favorite title reps, we had we're talking about seller financing and assumptions and things like that. I was shocked by this. And, it actually kind of was like, wow, this is the kind of the market we're in right now is the creativity of like, how can we put this deal together between buyer and seller? 25% of the deals right now are assumptions or seller financing. They're assumable type of properties. So if you haven't taken the time to understand what seller financing is or how assumptions will work, it's worth the time to look into that, because there's going to be a client that could work for. There was one I was looking at today where I was like, gosh, why isn't this thing, like, who has a connection with a military person? This house is an assumable rate of 3.7, and the buyer would just need to have $30,000. If they had $30,000, they could assume a 3.7% interest rate, and turn into this property, this beautiful property, with a giant lot and a very desirable little area. I was like, gosh, who do I know?
Right.
Who do I know that can
Who's
match
got
that
$30,000 and wants to buy a house right now?
Yeah. So I think, spend some time on that, because it's kind of the age right now where we're matchmaking more than we've had to do in the last several years. We're kind of going back to the market that we had before all of this, circa 2014, 15 in some respects. So getting into the core of why people are moving. They're moving because they're having, like Lori has here on the screen, they're moving because their lifestyle has changed. They've had another baby. Their kids have left the nest. Someone has passed away. Trusts, estates, things of that nature. People are getting married. They're having to, sell two houses so they can have their own household together. Divorces are occurring. Distressed, which we may not want to have to work with short sales and things like that. But short sales, HUD homes, I mean, those things are common right now. They're not super common like they were back in 2008, but you know, they're here. You know, during 2020, there was 0 HUD homes in the state of Washington. You know, those types of properties are starting to pop up. And then deployment, you know, people who are in military, they have to move.
Yes.
So if they've bought a
exactly.
house, and the cool thing about deployment in relocation companies and things like that is, at least with the VA piece, those properties are consumable.
Mhm.
So if you're looking and interested in those types of things, that'll be very important for you too.
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaway from tonight that everybody should think about is just, I mean, prospecting is big, it's huge. We can go at it from a lot of different directions, but pick one. You know, pick one that you feel that you can do and you will do consistently, and consider making that yearly plan. You know, if you've got a huge sphere and you've got a lot of people to call, obviously you're not going to make them all in one day. You know, set aside the time. I'm going to make 10 phone calls on Monday. You know, I'm going to do this on Thursday. I mean, definitely write it up as an actual plan. I mean, it's more likely that it's going to get done and followed through if you kind of go at it from that direction as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lori. Yeah, and if anybody wants to have, you know, your business plan, or if you're wanting us to help you create your business plan before the end of the year, I know Candice, I'll speak for you, I suppose. I know Candice is always willing to look at your business and say, what can we do differently? What are we doing? What's working? What's not working? And let's fine tune it so that you can have a very productive next quarter. So if you're looking for something like that, you know, that's why we have resources. That's why we're always here, so we can help you have that business. There is a lot of opportunity out there. We just have to put in a little bit of extra effort than we're used to in the last couple of years. It's there.
Yes, for sure. Yep. Buyers and sellers need you guys right now. They need you to help them navigate through this market. So yeah, for sure.
Yep. Perfect. Well, thanks you guys for popping on. Before I let you go, I do want to mention, so I did slip it in the chat, but we do have a lender survivor event. I know Grace mentioned it at the beginning of our call, but we were able to get this thing clock hour, you guys. It's going to be pretty fun. We're going to have residential lenders, commercial lenders, land, manufactured, all sorts of different types of lending that will be represented at this event. And it's rare to get those people in a room together. And so, you know, come, we're going to ask them questions, you know, so you can kind of figure out, you know, in this type of marketplace where we're matchmaking, it's important to understand the different types of programs that are there, but then also the different types of lending that can occur for these unique properties. So pencil that in for your calendar. I put it here in the chat so you guys can take a look at it. It is clock hour. It's going to be in Mercer Island. So it's at least centrally located for the people over here on the west side. And it will include lunch and things like that and tickets. So it should be lots of fun. I know all of us will be there for that event. So it'll be fun to see you guys in person there too. So thanks so much, you guys. Have an excellent week, and go pick up some opportunities. There's a lot that's going on right now, especially right now. This particular month has the highest number of cancellations and expirations that you will see. A lot of people are going to be that are already on the market will cancel and expire usually right now, and they will relist in January. So there's opportunity right there where people are looking at it. And as we go into November, that is the highest number of home searches is the week of Thanksgiving. So if you're looking at opportunities, let's get in front of their face before they start searching for homes Thanksgiving week. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions or you're wanting to set up a time to meet with us, I know Candice and I have availability this week too. We're happy to take your phone call, meet with you guys, go over marketing strategies that are more personal and specific to your people. So thanks so much, you guys. Have an excellent week.
Thanks, Lori. Thank you, Shannon.